to our I'd just like to welcome you to our first Knowledge Nugget of 2022, and we're delighted to, as an organisation, Ideas UK, run another series of Knowledge Nuggets with the Innovation Network. So we have both Grant and Connor on the line from the Innovation Network, and we are delighted to be partnering with them to bring you a whole range of topics over the course of the year. So do look out for all the messages and sign up for the next session. So actually our February date, we're going to be talking about lean startups. So today, however, we have a whistle-stop tour of the latest technology with our tech expert, Connor, who will be taking you on a tech safari. So on that note, I will stop sharing and enjoy.
Yeah, brilliant. Hi everybody. So like Zena said, this is going to be a tech safari, okay? So what this is basically for is we're going to go through a tech tool every minute. So we've got one per minute. So it's going to be really fast paced. So this is like a safari. You're just going to see a tool. I'm just going to explain a little bit about it, me and Grant will. And if you see something cool, just note it down, and obviously you can find more details on it later. And I'll share my email at the end. So if you want to discuss any of them after the talk, we'll be super happy to do that. Grant, can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, we've got your screen, and then we don't have time for lots of questions, but if there is something that you wanted to ask, please do pop it in chat, and we'll probably do a questions wrap up at the end. So please do drop a note in chat if there's anything you want to ask. And I think with Connor, without further ado, let's jump in.
Yeah, this is super fast paced. So like Grant said, we can't pick too much stuff up from the chat, but if you have used any of these tools and you have anything to add to the conversation, please put it into the chat so that we can read as we go along. I think that'd be really useful. So yeah, if you've used any of these, you like them, then please let us know, okay? Brilliant. Okay, so without further ado, we've got, so they're in different sections, okay? So this one is online collaboration tools, okay? So the first tool we've got is Mural, okay? So Mural is our first digital whiteboard platform of today, okay? Digital whiteboards are becoming really popular. So what it basically is a huge blank space for you to just add lots of sticky notes, lots of ideas, and arrange them, okay? There's a lot of freedom in Mural. So you have some more sort of brainstorming tools that are a bit more structured. Mural is, in fact, a bit more sort of out there. It's free. You can do a lot of different things. You can put down shapes, you can put down text, headers, things like that. And its main competitor is Miro, which I'm so sure we'll see on this safari in just a moment. Grant, do you have anything to say about Mural?
No, I'm interesting, a little bit limited on space, but a great tool, and I see Craig's used it for demo capabilities, so interesting to see someone is using it. Yeah, neat interface. Let's have a look at some of the comparatives, right? Yeah, they've all got pros and cons, yeah.
Yeah, so the next one we have is MindMeister. So MindMeister is much more structured than, say, Mural or Miro. It's basically is for mind maps. Okay, so you're going to be generating just mind maps on here. And the cool thing about this one is that if you are looking to just do mind maps, it's going to be a lot quicker than, say, Miro or Mural, one of the digital whiteboard tools. So that they're sort of key value proposition here is that all you need to use is tab and enter, and you can make these huge mind maps really quickly. So if you're looking to do specifically mind maps, MindMaster is a really good one. So the next one, mine and Grant's favorite, Miro. So we are absolutely in love with Miro. We use it for all of the courses. I pretty much use it for pretty much absolutely everything now. Actually, I've gone full in on Miro. I use it for my notes, for planning, absolutely everything. But yeah, like Mural. So Mural is definitely the biggest comparable one here. It's just a huge space for you to just put down sticky notes, shapes, titles, anything. There's just so many different things. Web page captures, there's so many different tools and integrations that you can add into it. Miro does so much more stuff. So the reason that we like this over Mural, the first one that we saw, is that the space is infinite. and to me, that makes a world of difference. So with Mural, it's kind of like having an A3 page, and you just got to try and fit everything onto that one page. And of course, you can link to other pages and things like that. But Miro is absolutely infinite. Every single board just goes on for infinite amount of space. So you can just fit these huge canvases on there, huge workshops, massive mind maps. You know, it's just there's a lot more space to do things on. Grant, do you have anything to say about Miro?
We love it. Lots and lots of new features getting added all the time. So a great tool. And I see Emma and Zena like that one. So
that's true. Yeah,
a game changer.
Yeah, it's like a new update every single month. It seems like with cool, exciting features. So yeah, it's a great one. So sprint based. So the cool thing about sprint based is it does have sort of whiteboard capabilities, but it's one for the innovators, because it actually takes you through a structured process. Okay, so you go onto the platform, and there is that digital whiteboard tool. However, there's a structured process for you to follow, and it does this with a lot of like video guidance. So there's videos within the actual platform, and it's kind of like having a innovation facilitator there with you in a technical format. It's kind of like a remote technical facilitator, because they're going to, via video, take you on that guided process. It's a bit like, you know, structured like a funnel. You take your ideas through each stage of that structured process in the software, and it should, in theory, get you to your end goal. So hopefully this one doesn't get too good, because it's going to take me and Grant out of the business, I think.
I don't know about that, but I think it would be useful for people that needed a structured, guided approach. So it's one that's never really appealed to us, because I think we like the flexibility, but definitely worth taking a look at.
Yeah.
And a great comment from Craig. Do we have any comparison sheets? So Craig, that's the one thing we don't do, is sort of comparison sheets, just because it's just changing all the time. So that is a neat idea, though, if you had sort of comparison sort of tick boxes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And if you're curious, sprint based is based on design thinking. So it's got that design thinking backbone. That's what the process is based on. Brilliant. So the next one we're going to is Figma. So Figma is a little bit different than the previous ones that we've seen. So Figma is mostly for sort of designing prototypes together. So what it is you can design sort of user interfaces. So prototypes specifically for software and apps and things like that. You design the sort of user interface, and then you can actually simulate it by making them as different sort of frames. So if you imagine PowerPoint, you go to the next slide, things like that, and you can add hyperlinks. Figma sort of replicates that in a more seamless manner, specifically for user interfaces. So essentially, you could design one screen of your app, and then you could add buttons, and then you could simulate those buttons going to other frames to sort of simulate how you want your app to be, your software to sort of go from one page to the next. So yeah, kind of like PowerPoint specifically for creating user interfaces, and you can hop on with teammates and sort of work on those together. So the next one we've got is Butter. So let me just go back to that. So Butter is kind of like it's a bit like Zoom's fun cousin, right? It's your basic sort of video call software. However, it's just a lot more interesting in a way. So the user experience is just very entertaining, right? There's lots of fun noises everywhere. There's a couple of like sort of memes integrated into it. It's very sort of hip and trendy. So this is what Butter is really good for, is if you're sort of running a workshop for clients or something like that, and you want to make that the experience just a little bit more fun, a little bit more interesting. You know, everyone's so bored of hopping onto a Teams call or a Zoom's call. You can actually just throw in Butter for the sake of variety almost. It works really well to keep people really engaged. I think that's a really strong point on Butter.
So Zena said, can we try it next meeting, Connor? So that's your challenge.
Oh yeah, possibly. Yeah, we'll look into it, Zena. That's a really good one. Yeah,
that's a nervous laugh, Zena. Yeah, so
if you want to remember for sure, Zena, I'll guarantee that if we do it. So the next one is Otter.ai. So Otter.ai is really cool. So what this is it plugs into things like Zooms, into Teams. I'm not sure if it plugs into Butter. I have to look that one up actually. And what it does is it actually transcribes your meetings so that after the meeting is over, you have a chat log, which I think is really cool. So, if we had Otter AI on this call here, we could actually send around a Word document, 5 minutes after the call has ended, and it'll have everything that I've spoken about and Grant's spoken about sort of written down in text format, and it can actually detect who voice says what. So it will actually create an actual chat log. So when Grant says something, it'll write down what Grant said, put his name by it, and you actually have a chat log that you can go back on. So if you are still writing down your own notes from Zoom and Teams, this is definitely one to look into. So the next one. So now we're going into the communication zone. Okay, so this is for sort of communicating internally with your team, or externally for some of them. So yeah, let's get right into it. So the first one is Slack. I'm sure we've all come across Slack at some point. So Slack is kind of just like a communication hub. What it is either software that you can download on the computer, or it's accessible via the web. And what you do is you hop onto it, and you can suddenly personal message anyone from your team. And then you've also got channels. Okay, so you set up different channels, and those are kind of like the team members that will talk about certain topics. So you might split up your channels based on teams. So if you have like a devs team, you might have a devs channel. Or it could be for like projects. So if you have a big client that you're working on, you could set the channel name as that client. Then anyone who's involved with that client can talk on that specific channel. And the cool thing about Slack is that there's loads of integrations, right? So you can sort of set up polls on it. There's integrations for that. You can embed mirror boards onto it. You can connect a calendar to it, so that actually Slack reminds me whenever I have a meeting. That's a really useful tool, and I can actually open up those meetings from within Slack itself. So there's lots of different features on Slack. It's very full-bodied. There's lots of features to dive into there. So Slack's biggest comparison, I would say, is Microsoft Teams. So Teams, a lot of people I think would disagree with me, but I think it is quite comparable to Slack. It's essentially a communication hub, and I think the biggest difference is that it's very much in the Microsoft ecosystem. So you can share Office documents and things like that, and you can sort of work on them within Teams, which I think is quite cool. Of course, Teams is also Zoom's biggest competitor, so it's got in Teams that there is video call, which Slack has as well. However, Teams has just as many features as Zoom. In my experience, I don't think Teams features work quite as smoothly as Zoom, but they are all there. So it's actually it's a sort of solution for absolutely everything, because you can share your files within Zoom, you can communicate via personal messages, and there's channels in Zoom, and there's that full-bodied video call. So Zoom sort of ticks a lot of the box for a lot of the software needs that you might have. So yeah, once you are in the Microsoft ecosystem, you do sort of have everything that you need figured out, which is quite nice. So the next one then is FlowDoc. So I decided to add FlowDoc in there because Teams and Slack, they are absolutely crammed full of features, but I don't think they're quite that simplistic. So if you're remote, but you don't need to share as many files, you don't need to do too many video calls with each other, things like that, you might want a very sort of lightweight, simplistic version of a Teams or a Slack. So FlowDoc, the cool thing about FlowDoc is that it does what Slack and Teams do. However, it's actually got less features, which keeps it quite minimalistic and simple, right? So it's just for sort of, it's just got channels, personal messages, you can talk to your teammates. It just doesn't have as many bells and whistles, because I mean, Slack and Teams are kind of in this arms race at the minute of trying to just cram as many features into the software as possible, trying to overtake each other, whereas FlowDoc is sort of chilling back, remaining that minimalistic, simple option, which a lot of people find desirable, I think. So next we've got Google Hangouts. So Google Hangouts, we have to include this in here because it's still sort of up there with Zoom and Teams. This is specifically for video call mostly. So the way this is set up is it's purely on the web. You don't download any software like you do in Teams and Zoom. And you can just set up a Google Hangout, and then it gives you a link, and you can send that off to anyone. It works very simplistically and well, I think, because all you do is you jump onto the website, you create a room, that gives you a URL, you send it out to anyone that you want to join that room, and it works quite seamlessly and quite flawlessly, in my opinion. It does have some chat functionality, so if someone is your Google contact, you sort of add them to a conversation, but that's not going to give you any more features than, say, a WhatsApp. It's very much sort of just like you have contacts, you message them, you have group chats, but unlike Slack and Teams, it doesn't have integrations, polls, channels, and things like that. So it's kind of like a WhatsApp that you can use from the desktop that works really well, and it's really simple. So I quite like Google Hangouts. Loom, a really interesting one, Loom. So what this is going to be is it's going to be an extension that you download onto your browser. There's actually software now that I think about it. You can download the software and have it on your computer. But what this is it's really easy to do sort of video messaging. So you just, once you have it as an extension, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar, extensions live in the top right of your Google Chrome screen. You click on that extension, and right away it will start recording your screen. Okay, so it will record your screen with your webcam if you choose to add your webcam, and that will float around as a little circle, so that it gives it a little personal touch. So that little webcam will follow you around, and then all of a sudden you're recording your screen. It works really seamlessly because you click that extension, it starts recording, and then you click stop, and then all of a sudden you've got a video that, and the URL goes straight to your clipboard, so you can paste it anywhere straight away. So you stop recording, and then all of a sudden you've got a video that you paste to people really quickly. You can include them in emails, you can message them to people, and it just works really quickly. It's probably the quickest way that you can record a video and send it to someone. It's a really interesting one. Bonjoro is its biggest competitor. So Bonjoro, it works very similarly to Loom. Apart from the difference here is it's more for reaching out to clients. So you record the video just like in Loom, and then the URL that it generates, I think if you pay for one of their subscriptions, you can actually brand the web page which you land on with the video. So it's more for sort of saying thank you for clients. You can also include sort of polls and things like that within that, directly under the video, to try and get feedback on your services and things like that. So this is like Loom. Apart from it's more for reaching out to previous customers, saying thank you, and trying to get feedback via video. So I think that's quite cool. So next we've got online document collaboration. We'll try and breeze through these. So OneDrive, this is Microsoft's solution for file storage. So it works with Office apps. You can, so if you are on like a Microsoft 365, then you can sort of collaborate on documents with other people, and it's quite seamless. A lot of people don't know it's there, but it's kind of like when you're working on Google Doc with each other. That functionality is actually Microsoft. It's just under sort of this OneDrive preference. So once you do find it, it is really cool. One thing that this has that the other sort of drives don't have, the cloud software, is that it's got a personal vault, so you can add files to your personal vault, and the only way to open that vault is to enter your password again. So if you've got any really secure files that you need hiding, that's actually a really good solution. The next one, we've got Google Drive. So the cool thing about Google Drive is that it's sort of the best value for money memory wise. So you're going to get more bang for your buck in terms of gigabytes. It's also really good on Android and Chrome OS. It's built in natively, so it's kind of a no-brainer for that stuff. And then the thing that I really like about Drive is that it's got really good photo storage because it compresses the files. And when you upload videos, you've got that YouTube video player. That doesn't mean that it uploads it to YouTube. It just means that it uses the same technology that you use to see a YouTube video in the app, which is really good for if you upload video to it, because you can see it in HD and it loads really quickly. And the thing about this versus OneDrive, I would say, is that OneDrive, this is really good for documents, things like, Word documents, PowerPoints, Excel sheets. I'd say Google Drive is really good for things like photo, media, video, things like that. I'd say that's the key definition there. Dropbox, I had to include one that wasn't in a Microsoft or Google ecosystem. So Dropbox is pretty much if you're a rebel and you don't want to be in one of those two ecosystems, Dropbox is for you. It started off as for consumers. It's actually a really good case study for how it started off. Grant could tell you way more about that than me. But it's still got it's got some enterprise options now, and it's just a really good versatile file sharing option. It will sync documents on your computers like the other two will, and it's just a really solid option, I think. So I'm including AWS on here now. So this is very much geared for non-personal use. It's very much for businesses. So it's got a bit of a learning curve. Some people are actually professionals in AWS, so that's how much of a learning curve it has. But if you just want to dip your toe into it, it does have, just that sort of cloud system that you can learn. So it does take a little bit of learning. They work in things called buckets, which I won't go into here. But essentially, the really good value proposition for AWS is that you only pay per how much bandwidth that you use. So if I upload a video to AWS, I'll only get charged based on how many people actually viewed that video, which is really interesting. So the charging scheme for this one is so different. So I had to include it on here, but there is a bit of a learning curve. So before you dive into it, just bear that in mind. The next one is FileStage. So FileStage is a really cool one. It's not a cloud system. It is document collaboration though. So what it is you're going to upload your documents onto here, and what it allows you to do is send it to members of your team, and they can add the feedback directly onto that piece of content. So it works for all different file types, so images, video, you name it. And what you do is you basically can annotate it. So you can click on that specific part of the video and annotate saying, oh, I don't like this here, please remove that. And it's really quite seamless. So you don't need to log in. Your teammates don't have to log in to actually use it. You just send the URL out, and then all of a sudden your teammates can click on certain parts of the video, certain parts of the image, and give you feedback based on what they see. So it's quite a simplistic, seamless way to get feedback on sort of things that you're working on really quickly. So I quite like it for that. So the next one's then we've got our project management tools, okay? So project management, there's loads of different options, but there are some key differences between these softwares that are pretty good. So first of all, we've got Asana. Oh, yeah, we've got Asana. So Asana is kind of king right now. It's I think it's got the most market share of all of the project management tools. So it's pretty much your basic, you add teammates to it, you give them all to-dos, you can see different tasks in different ways. So there's different views. You can see them in sort of Kanbans, Gantt charts. I think you can see it in like a spreadsheet format. And it's your pretty much run-of-the-mill. It keeps it quite simple. Project management tools. It's got everything there that you'd expect. And the one, it works pretty flawlessly in my opinion. And the one of the big selling points is that it's got loads of integrations. So any of the software that you use, you can pretty much bank that Asana will integrate with it. So Teams, Slack, Miro, there's loads of integrations for Asana. So it really plugs into your tech ecosystem really well. The next one then we got Trello. So Trello works in a Kanban format. So it's kind of like a list of lists almost, because what you do is you make one list and then right directly next to it, you've got another list. You can put in another list, and you can just keep going. And what you've got are these items that you can drag from list to list. Okay, so very much Kanban format. What it kind of reminds me of is, news feeds on social media. It's kind of like creating that sort of news feed for people to scroll through, and then you can sort of add those, posts that you'd see on those news feeds to the next list over. And it's a lot of people find it really easy to manage projects this way. So I think the sort of thing that I found with Trello users is once they start using Trello, they can't really turn back, because it really changes the way that you manage projects. But a lot of people find it way easier, because it really is like the ultimate Kanban board. So if you are a Kanban user already, then you definitely should use Trello, because there's lots of features that will make your Kanban experience way better with Trello. Definitely want to keep in mind. So then we got Airtables. So if Kanban was the king of, sorry, if Trello was the king of Kanbans, then this one is the king of spreadsheets in terms of project management, because this one is all sort of, it's got a very spreadsheet style backbone. So if you're that sort of person who uses Excel to manage projects, and people try and get you onto these different tools, but you find it just doesn't quite work, then Airtable actually might be the one for you, because what it is you plug everything into a spreadsheet. Then once it's all into a spreadsheet, you can actually change the way that you visualize that data. So it keeps you in that really friendly territory of letting you use spreadsheets. But then when somebody comes up and they want to see the data in like a calendar format, it's just a click of a button, and all of a sudden you've got that data in calendar format. Gantt charts, there's a gallery view, which is quite cool, and you can actually embed that into a website. So if you want a front-facing sort of project for clients, really, really good for that. But yeah, it's essentially a really reliable option for a project management tool that relies on a sort of spreadsheet format. It's a good one. And there's lots of different field types as well, which I think is really important. So on Excel, there's sort of it's very hard to add like a to-do checkbox, things like that. With Airtable, it's got all of those sort of niche field types that you'd want for project management built in, which I think is quite cool. Monday, so this is kind of like the biggest competitor to Asana, I would say, at the minute. The interesting thing about Monday is that it's quite programmable. So that's quite interesting. So everything works in pulses, and you can kind of make those pulses what you want. It's actually quite hard to explain, so you'd have to give it a try. But you have these pulses. You can add deadlines to it. You can add teammates to them, and then you can make those pulses interact with other pulses, sort of reliant on other pulses, and you can sort of manage projects any which way that you want with it. And then once you've set all those projects out and you've assigned team members to them, made them rely on other pulses, you can actually visualize the data in different ways, sort of like the previous project management tools that we've covered. So even though it's quite programmable in that you've got these pulses and they're not necessarily tasks, it still manages to get all that data and plug it into a sort of visualizations. You've got pie charts, you've got Gantt charts, things like that. It still kind of makes it quite bite-sized data for people to actually come in and see what's happening. So quite an interesting one Monday. The next one, you've got Toggle Plan. So if we had previous ones that the Airtable is the king of spreadsheets, Trello king of Kanbans, Toggle Plan is the king of Gantt charts, right? So the thing about this one is that it's very simplistic. Basically, if you go to those other tools and you think, oh, this is a bit much, this is a very simplistic Gantt chart, which I might say it may say is very easy to look at. I think it's definitely the best looking project management tools out of the ones that we've covered. So it's all timeline based. It is only Gantt charts, so you can't have that Kanban, you can't have spreadsheets and things like that. You can't really change the view, but it's a very, very simplistic, easy to use Gantt chart, which you can plug in team members. You can time block exactly what they're doing for each day, and it's just very easy to work with. So in my opinion, if I had to pick one of these to use, I would actually use Toggle Plan first personally, just because of that simplistic nature. you know, it really does sort of get the job done, and gives you a really easy time doing it, which I quite like. So the next one, then we've got Bonusly. So Bonusly, you could say it's just a sort of employee reward scheme, but it's very much established as a tech company, right? Because what they do is they have this platform which no other sort of employee reward scheme really has, in my opinion. So this one's amazing because, you know, 71% of employees aren't engaged in their job. And this really does sort of fix that. So what it does is it's a platform that will plug into anything that you use. It's got loads of integration. So if you're using Teams, if you're using Slack, it will plug into those. And what you can do is you can sort of you can reward, you know, employees based on their performance there and then. It has like a sort of point mechanism. So how it works is you reward the employee for the job that they've done. That will give them a certain amount of points, and it will also announce their success to the whole company if you choose to do so. So you know, it's really good. So once they have those points, they can redeem them for, you know, your basic, you know, gym memberships and restaurant coupons, things like that. And the really cool thing about this is that while it's rewarding people, you know, on a based on whenever they do something good, you also get all the analytics from that as well. So in the back end, when you log into Bonusly on the actual web, you can actually go to those analytics and you can see which employees are earning more points than others, which is obviously really beneficial for both the employer and the employee. So quite a cool one there for project management. We've got Hey Orca. So Hey Orca, it's pretty much Asana for social media, pretty much. So it is project management because you can assign tasks to people, but it's got a real social media sort of element to it. So how it works is, you know, you sort of assign different posts to people and things like that. So it's very much for creating the content that you want to put on, say, LinkedIn, say Instagram. It gives you a deadline for that. You can set up tasks to break those posts down, and then you can actually approve them with people. So the content approval built in, a little bit like file stage. You can send those posts to people. They can, you know, the client can approve it, so you know that you can upload it to social media. So you can actually use this as a regular project management tool. But if you do find that you post a lot on social media for your role, then this is actually one to consider, because it's really good for, you know, social media sort of management, things like that. So it's quite a cool one there. The next one, we've got Notion. So Notion, I really like Notion. It's if I had to pick two which you had to sort of run an entire business from, I'd say if you just got a Notion account and a Miro account, you can pretty much do everything that you pretty much need. So Notion is really cool because it's kind of like Evernote and Slack combined, right? It's for note taking, but people use it for so much more than that. People actually make websites with Notion, really interestingly enough. That's a whole subject in itself. But you can definitely manage projects with Notion. A lot of people use it for managing projects. So you know, you can add Kanban, you can add sort of grids like spreadsheets into Notion, and people find it really easy to manage projects through Notion, because you can onboard all of your teammates to Notion, and then they have full sort of access to those different pages. It works sort of like from different pages. It's kind of like making an internet in a way, that there's, you have pages which you can link to other pages, and you can pretty much build it into whatever you want it to be, which is why people have found it to be good at project management. You know, they didn't set out to be a project management solution, but so many people have used it that way that you sort of have to mention it on a list like this. And so you know, while it can make websites, you can manage projects, you can use it as a personal note-making tool. I think it's actually really good for making a knowledge base. I would say in terms of making a knowledge base, it's probably the best tool out there. So if you do have, you know, lots of knowledge that you need to get around to a lot of people, instead of using, you know, the sort of intranet, you know, that we used to have in like the early 2000s, Notion is a really good tool for it, because you can make those custom web pages and just pack them full of information that people need, and it makes it really accessible for everyone. Okay. So the next one, then we've got online productivity.
A quick
okay.
one.
Yep.
Would you say Hey Orca compares to Hootsuite at all?
Yes, yeah. Hey Orca does compare to Hootsuite. I'd say that Hey Orca has more sort of project management functions. Hootsuite, I'd say it's a bit more geared towards scheduling, but I'd say that's definitely the most direct comparison. There are a lot of tools that just schedule social media. Hootsuite does give you a lot of the functionalities that Hey Orca does as well. So that's a really good comparison. Thanks for that. So this is online productivity. So pretty simple, just to make you more productive in your sort of personal role. So first of all, we've got Todoist. So Todoist is really fleshed out sort of to-do app. So this really is a to-do list, but on steroids pretty much. You know, it's got all the features. So you can add to-do lists to it, but then you can also organize them. You can organize them based on priority. You can add due dates to them. I think it keeps it really simple, but it gives you a lot of features, which I really like. So you can essentially just bulk add all of the things that you need to do for the day, and then organize them at a later date, you know, add priority levels, add due dates, separate them into different lists, so that you can sort of tackle things in bite-sized chunks. I think this is a godsend for people who you know, use note-taking to do their to-do lists and things like that. This is a really good first step to try if you want to sort of take your to-do list digital. The next one we've got is Pocket. So if you find yourself reading so many articles, which, you know, articles can be quite important for bringing value, you know, you get so many different new ideas from articles. This sort of allows you to save your articles for later. It allows you to organize them, so pretty much so you can batch read them later, right? I think a lot of people have found a lot of productivity advantages from batching things. You know, if you batch emails, that can make you a whole lot more productive. So with Pocket, essentially you can save these articles for later so that you can go to them all at once at a later date. They also have a discovery section, so you can use this to browse new articles. So yeah, it's just really good for saving articles for later, making sure that you get around to reading those really high value content. Google Keep then. So Google Keep, I would say this is kind of like, it's halfway in between Miro and Todoist in a way. So you sort of add these notes, and you can see on this little picture on their website, they sort of all come up as panels, right? So you add panels, you can add sort of checkboxes to these panels, and it's just a much more structured way of using sticky notes than, say, a Miro or a mural. So if you like that sort of structured fashion of like a list, but you still want to add things as sticky notes, just because of, you know, the power of sticky notes, being able to add things to different sections, then this is a really good one to try. Especially for like saving ideas to go back to later. I think that's probably one of its biggest strengths. So Focus Me, my personal savior. So right when I got out of uni, I dove back into the video games, which I hadn't done for like about 4 years. I just found myself absolutely engrossed, and I thought, you know, this has to stop. I'm spending so many hours a day on these video games for about 2 weeks straight. It was awful. So what I did was I paid for Focus Me, and what you do is you basically set plans, and what it can do is it can block websites and programs, right? And you can set them on schedules, things like that. So for me, you know, I have like YouTube is my biggest crutch. I'm addicted to YouTube, so I have YouTube blocked during all my work days, and I'm infinitely more productive, of course, for it. And it really is, it puts it on lockdown. Okay, there's lots of comparable ones to Focus Me. I'm quite into tech, so I've always managed to get around anyone that I've used apart from Focus Me. Okay, so Focus Me, it puts your computer on such lockdown that in order for you to get it off in order for you to cancel a plan so that you can, you know, use something that you find distracting, sometimes you do actually have to call their customer service. That's how much on lockdown it puts it on, right? So if you are a chronic procrastinator, this one is for you. I like to pitch it as a reverser as well. If you are an absolute workaholic, this is amazing for making sure that you don't go on email in the evening. You know, you can definitely block productive things as well, to give you a better work-life balance. So definitely think of the flip side for this one as well. But this one's a really nice one as well. So Newsfeed Eradicator, I had to put this one on, even though it's a Chrome extension. There's no sort of website or service for this one. I had to include it because, if you do need to use social media, so if you can't quite go the focus me route, you need those things for your day job, LinkedIn, Twitter. So sometimes you just need social media for your role, especially if you're in marketing or something like that. What Newsfeed Eradicator does, you can sort of see it on this preview down here. It gets rid of your newsfeed on your social media and it replaces it with a quote, an inspirational quote, right? So what it is obviously newsfeed, that infinite scrolling, that's generally what distracts people on social media. It's not the messaging people, it's not the events, things like that. It's just that endless scrolling of content. So this kind of takes that addiction out of social media by getting rid of the newsfeed, but you still have access to your messages. You can still attend that LinkedIn event, things like that. This one is a really powerful one in my opinion, which is why I had to include it. The next one, Brain FM. So this is sort of a science-first approach to music. So you've got different sort of playlists for focus, relaxation, meditation, sleep. It's sort of quite seamless. You can't hear when it changes songs. All the songs are pretty much an hour each anyway, so it's very seamless. And I would just say that if you are trying to focus but you want that background noise, it's a lot more consistent than Spotify, right? With Spotify, I always find I'll put on a focus playlist and all of a sudden something sort of out there plays which takes me out of it, then I might have to change playlist, and then all of a sudden I'm starting to think about Spotify a lot. Brain FM sort of takes that out of the equation. You can put down a focus playlist, have it play in the background, and you don't need to worry about anything else. So a really good productivity app. Evernote, I won't speak too much about Evernote. Lots of people have used it. Essentially lots of notes, organized really well. Lots of templates that you can use. There's even a template to help you tackle cleaning your house. There's loads. And you can sort of search for notes once you've sort of populated them. It's got really good search functions. I think it's really important to sort of have that second brain, that can hold all of the stuff that your brain just can't fit in it. All of us have a limited amount of memory, right? So it's just really good to have that software on the side, which you can just dump something in and then search for it later. I think it's really important. Sunsama, probably should put this one at the start because this sort of plugs into the project management apps. So what this will do is it will take those tasks that you've been assigned through those project management apps, and it allows you to sort of time block that into a day. Okay, so really simply, what it will do is it's sort of got this. It goes from, you got to-dos on the left and it's got a Kanban board in the middle, and then you can block that on your calendar at the end. So essentially you make your to-do list, you organize those to-dos, and then you block those into a calendar, right? And it will actually import the to-dos from project management apps if you're working in a team, which I think is really powerful. So if you're like me and you find time blocking on your calendar really helpful for productivity, this one's really good because it will automatically sort of suggest to you how you are going to time block your day. And it kind of takes a lot of the thought process out of that, which I really like. Okay, so we've got email, which I'll go through very quickly. Okay, so we can try and get to our lightning round at the end. So we've got Tempo. So Tempo is basically an email client, which is basically made to be very simplistic. And what it will actually do is it will batch your emails. So you can say, only send me emails at 3 o'clock. And all of a sudden, all your emails will roll in at 3 o'clock so that you don't get distracted all the time by going back to your emails to reply to people. It really just allows you to control your day. You got Spike. So Spike is really interesting. Essentially, if you're an email phobe like I am, I can't stand email. I can't stand the way they're laid out. What Spike does is it sort of turns email into Slack in a way. It dresses up the email so it's a bit like Messenger or WhatsApp, something like that. And you can kind of prioritize things not based on inbox, but on conversations with people. So, you might have a feed with Grant and I might have that conversation with Grant. I'll be emailing, but it'll feel exactly like Slack. It's a really interesting one. I'd say this is stronger for sort of in-team communication if you still use email rather than to clients, because it's really easy to forget formality when you use Spike. That's the only thing. So you've got X.AI, really interesting one. So if you've got a crammed calendar and you're sick of scheduling meetings because it's so much back and forth, X.AI is actually just artificial intelligence that you can CC into an email, and they will then schedule your meeting for you, which is really interesting. So the AI will announce that it is an AI. It won't try and pass off as a human, which I think is good. And it will actually arrange with the other person a meeting time, because it has access to your calendar, so it knows when you can actually do a meeting, and then you can sort of arrange it like that, and it takes the hassle away. Calendly then is its biggest competitor. So rather than sort of trying to do it through conversation through the email, Calendly just sends them a link, and then the other person can go onto that link and they'll go to an interactive calendar, which they can see all of your availability. They can take one of those availabilities and book in a meeting with you. So this is really good. It's a really good one for scheduling meetings. I think this one is probably a safer bet than X.AI at the minute, but I would keep an eye on X.AI because they are developing the artificial intelligence every day, and it's getting much better at sort of conversating with humans and scheduling those tasks. And it adds a bit of a human element to it, weirdly enough, even though it's an artificial intelligence. So then you've got TimeDate. TimeDate is really simple. So it's just timeanddate.com. And it just allows you to sync up times with people around the world. It's a really powerful one. If you work with people globally, this one is kind of a must use. It really does take all the brain power out of trying to work out what time people are at and things like that. It just gives you all the different options you'd want for working out when to send that email, when to schedule that call, things like that. Okay, so very quickly then, we've got the lightning round. Okay, so these are lots of different tools. So we've got loads of different Chrome extensions, websites. I'm just going to tell you what they each do. This one might be the one to screenshot because some of these are really cool. So you can go to these later. So none of these are downloadable. So Chrome extensions, it's just going to the Chrome store on your web browser and finding these and adding these to Chrome. And then these websites are they're just pure, like you go to the website, you do it, you don't need to make an account, things like that. Okay, those were the ones I tried to sort of go for here. So Chrome extension, you got color grab. Color grab, you can get any color on a web page and it will tell you its exact sort of color code, so you can use it anywhere that you want. I think it's a really powerful one. And it's just, again, that that extension in the corner, you just click it, and then all of a sudden you just click on any color and it will tell you the code. Stay focused, so that's kind of like the focus one that we went on earlier, which blocks different apps, but this is just a Chrome extension. It'll block websites. It's really easy to get rid of the extension if you don't need it, so it doesn't have that lockdown as the other one did, but still a really simple one to just put onto your Chrome and just use. Speechify, so if you download Speechify, it'll read anything that you want on Chrome, so it can read out articles, it can read out tweets, it adds a little button to these web pages, and it can read out emails. So you just click the little play button next to the email and it'll actually read out the email so you don't have to read it. So I use that one a lot, it's good. And then you got the Great Suspender. Okay, so the Great Suspender will kill tabs. So if you're a tabaholic like I am, where you're just making loads of different Chrome tabs, this one will actually kill them after a certain amount of time to save your memory on your computer and just to keep your Chrome a bit cleaner. Websites, so we got undraw.co, so that's a library of illustrations which are really nice, and the thing that I like about it is that there's accent colors, and you can determine that exact accent color and search for them that way. So you can essentially have these illustrations that are very much on brand, because you can add a key color to those illustrations, and there are loads of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. So that's a really nice one. Emailchecker.net has an email extractor which you can find. So this one's amazing. So if you have that huge list of people and it's got their emails in, and you just need to grab those emails so you can add them to an event or something like that, instead of having to remove all the text around those emails, you can just shove all that text into emailchecker.net, and it will extract all of those emails so you can add them to that event on a calendar and things like that. Quillbot.com will it'll reword anything that you put into it. So put any paragraph into it and it will reword it. I wish I knew about this one in uni. So it'll just reword it, rephrase it, so you can sort of recycle text that you've already used. A lot of people don't know that Adobe.com have a PDF to PowerPoint converter for free, which I think is amazing. So instead of having to buy Adobe Acrobat or something like that, what you can do is go onto the Adobe website, just Google PDF to PowerPoint converter Adobe. You just upload the PDF document and it'll instantly turn that into a PowerPoint file which you can edit, which is very useful. We got Photopea. I don't know how this one exists, but it does. It's basically Photoshop on the website, on the web. It's amazing. So it's got all of Photoshop's functionality amazingly. It's completely free. You just go to photopea.com and it's just Photoshop on the web. It's even amazing for people who use Photoshop because it's accessible on the web, which means you could use it on a Chromebook, something like that. Cropcircle.imageonline.co. So that actually will crop a circle into any image that you upload, which makes it really nice to put in a PowerPoint. All of a sudden, those square images, you can make those all nice and circular to include those on any sort of website or PowerPoint, a really powerful one. And then remove.background BG. So what that will do is it's artificial intelligence. It knows where the background is on an image and it will remove the background. So no more sort of tracing out the line on Photoshop, on Paint to try and get rid of the background. You sort of load it to remove.bg. And then all of a sudden you'll have an image of just the person without the background. And it's actually really reliable. I use it pretty much on a daily basis. It's really good. And without further ado, that's the Tech Safari. So I know it's really fast paced, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you managed to sort of get those key things out. I'm going to put my email into chat, and you guys can send me any messages on any of these if you forgot one. I'm sure Zena will upload the recording of this, but I'm open to talk about any of these any of the time. So if you did have one you couldn't quite remember, please give me an email. I'll be happy to talk to you about it.
Yeah, some lovely additions. I've made a note of those. So Craig, Stuart, thanks so much for those additions. We'll add them in. So awesome suggestions. Thank you.
That was brilliant, Connor. I think we've all taken at least one, if not multiples away, and even from those little list at the end. My goodness, I did not know how I could create a PDF into a PowerPoint. So even that is fantastic.
Cool.
So I will be checking out all of those websites. So thank you so much. I think that was a great kickoff to our Knowledge Nuggets, and feel free to share the recording when I send it to you with anyone. So thank you very much. Do join us for our next Knowledge Nugget on the 8th of February. We'll be sending the link out to register shortly, and Grant will actually be taking us through lean startups. So thanks very much. I thought that was a brilliant session, Connor. Great, and enjoy the rest of your days. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Really good.
Nice. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.